All of the articles we discuss, all the videos that we play on the show today are archived on that website so that you can go back and fact check and look at anything that we talk about today on this program. Many are called, but few are chosen. That's a saying that I've always liked, and it hits home to me continually just how many people will never awaken to the reality that they're actually in, and how well the reality overlords and the masters of illusion have created the propaganda matrix that so many of us will live in for their entire lives, or our entire lives. You know, I walk around, and it's really difficult. It's really difficult to wake up one day and realize that just about everything you were told about the world was a lie. That people with agendas, with plans, with desires for power and control purposely created systems of education that were inferior. Purposefully intoxicated the environment, toxified the environment. Just dumped massive amounts of fluoride, and we're going to talk about fluoride again today, into the water supplies, dumbing down the public. I mean, then added to that, of course, is just all of the natural pollution and the social programming. You can't forget about the social programming that goes on via the television, which is the Cyclopean God that rules over 6 to 8 hours of children's lives every day, and 4 to 6 hours of every average American's life every day for their life. And it's a heavy responsibility to wake up, and it's a very difficult responsibility to awaken to learn that fluoride is poison, that it literally retards people, to learn that the genetically modified foods that I had been told were going to be the great saviors of mankind instead cause cancer in lab rats. To know just how much fluoride's in everything, to know that the depleted uranium that our military uses in the Middle East and all over the world is spreading radiation across the planet, being picked up in Britain, air monitors in Britain, halfway around the world. To know that we've completely decimated and destroyed the nation of Iraq, 2 million or a million orphans, 2 million internally displaced, 2 million externally displaced, over 2 million dead. Just to know just how much horror, the absolute horror and constantly around us. But then to also know that now as never before, the light and the awakening and the beautiful dynamic human spirit that's flowering now because of the information revolution. And to see that beauty and that amazing individual potential that's being expressed across the planet right now. Literally where the best in all men is arising to champion the future against the dark overlords, against greed, against selfishness, against the status quo. And to see that, and then to try to come up here with all my little file folders and all of the information, and to try and warn the general public with every fiber of my being, with all of my extra time that's not spent putting food on my family's table. To spend all that time doing that and to never feel adequate. I can never research or have enough of the information at my fingertips to ever completely feel adequate that I have been able to accomplish what I see as my duty, which is to warn as many of you as possible about all of these negative environmental factors, about the corruption, the history of politics and the human nature and the cyclical nature of playing out the same story over and over again. And to never feel adequate to be able to actually present that, even though I know that some of you like the way I do it. But part of what makes it so difficult is I don't want to be a prophet of doom. I'm not here to tell you that it's all over. Now, the world that you knew is over. But if there's anything that I've learned is that we have the power. And that's part of the lie that's been perpetrated on you your entire life. That you were powerless, that you didn't have, that you couldn't fight City Hall, that it was too large, that everything was too large and you were too insignificant. And that's one level of the lie that's been perpetrated against you, is this idea that you're insignificant, when everything in history, spirituality, and even your own gut instincts. I mean, you can even get into the science of it, of quantum mechanics and how we affect the universe, and the universe is nothing but a 0-point energy field waiting to collapse into reality, but it can only collapse from potentiality, from infinite potential into a singular reality when consciousness is there to view it. That's basic quantum mechanics. And that's even been proven at a subatomic level with the way particles behave. So to know that, but it's difficult because there is so much darkness. And there's a rising tide of darkness that's coming for this nation that each of us is going to have to face. That's just a reality. You can't pay out pain and misery. And there was a lot of good things about the United States. I'm not a U.S. basher. I don't hate our history or where we come from. We were never perfect, but what nation has been. We have a lot of karma to pay. And there's a heavy judgment coming against this nation. And a lot of it has to do with the willful blindness, the willful ignorance of those that were warned, of those that chose to intentionally look away from all of the writing on the wall. And that's why we're going to have to go through this. And I mean, that's a lot of what, as I see it, Dr. Ron Paul's campaign has to do with, is every nation, and if you use the Bible as a reference, and you can use history as a reference too, any nation that falls always is given an opportunity to repent, an opportunity to turn away from the disaster. And you can look at that from a spiritual point of view, religious point of view, or secular, historical point of view, whatever. The voice from the wilderness always cries out. The prophets always emerge. The artists, the lovers, they always come out of the woodwork right before the fall to prophesize through art, through rhetoric, through communication, through spirituality, and to warn the general public of what's coming. And most of the time, they are ignored, if not actively attacked and persecuted by the society, because nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to know that, even though that's always the case. And it is always the apathy and the selfishness and the self-indulgence that are the hallmarks of the society in decline, that are also the hallmarks of the coming apocalypse, revolution, whatever you want to call it. So it's really difficult because so much of the information that I'm surrounded with is so dark, is so dystopian. Sonic weapons, cameras everywhere, complete control grid, everything being tracked, the fiscal economy falling apart, the government having now to come out and admit that it's starting to fall apart, even though I've been telling you on that show now for 6 months. And it wasn't me. I'm no great genius. There are world-class economists, and you can just pick them out because they're the ones that are shunned by the media. They're the ones that are denied any voice. And I mean, that really does become, and this is one of my frustrations with the left when it comes to Dr. Paul, anyone that the establishment attacks with that level of vitriol and that level of just savageness, you should generally, after checking them out, run to those people because there's a reason they're being attacked by the establishment. So it's hard not to become dark. It's hard not to become dark when you're surrounded with all of this dark information. But the most important thing coming for us to deal with, the most fundamental aspect of everything that is to follow from now, is going to be the individual response to the darkness, to the trial, to the fires. As Hemingway said, the war burns the fires from men. War burns the fat from men's souls. And all of the disgusting, largesse, fat, lazy, ignorant, purposefully self-indulgent, self-blinding American public, their karma demands that they be burned.